go. Now we got you, Logan.
There we
Welcome,
go.
welcome. Were you able to hear me before, or was this the? Are you now hearing me?
I'm just now hearing you.
All right, no problem, no problem. Well, we were just welcoming everyone to the latest Lilypad AMA. We're super excited to have everybody here. Um, I was gonna let some questions roll in, and if we don't have any at the moment, then I have a little presentation to go through, talking a little bit about what's going on at the Lilypad network. So it looks like we are good to go on the presentation. So I thought it was first important to sort of dive in just really quick into the Lilypad economy. What's going on here, and what are we doing? Oh, I actually have a question here. Hi, I'm curious about regarding the latest update, the Bacala 1.3 that allows the queuing of jobs. I know we're on Bacala 1.3.2 at the moment. We have not moved over to Bacala 1.4. Logan, are you familiar with this question? So he's curious about the latest updates in Bacala 1.3 that allows queuing of jobs. I'm to be honest, I'm not fully up to date with sort of the latest Bacala versions. But yeah.
So what about the updates?
So I guess there's an option to queue jobs using Bacala 1.3 for organization. So I think that's what the question is about. But anyway, if you're not familiar, we can continue on. Dhruv, if you have any more details about that, like to clarify that question a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, GT Media, would you consider taking away the 10% reward penalty for node inactivity? Yeah, great question. So the slashing mechanism that we currently have, we have said is sort of a work in progress. The main focus was to incentivize long-term partners, long-term commitment to the network. And so the 10% per day is a little bit extreme, but we believe that, you only have to do 4 hours of uptime per day. And so we believe that it's a pretty fair middle ground to, make sure that we are rewarding people who have been online for consistent amounts of time versus people who kind of just come and go. The other thing is points right now are worth a lot more, or I guess you get more points right now in the early days of the incentive net than you would a month from now. And so that's the other reason we've implemented the slashing mechanism, because for resource providers who are online now, you're going to be earning a lot more rewards. And so, those rewards have a lot more weight, and thus it would be against our interests for have people, join the network now to earn a lot of rewards and then just leave. And so anyway, that being said, we have a GitHub discussion. So I will post this in the chat here. We have a GitHub discussion that's kind of with this discussion is kind of ongoing. And we're open to feedback. We're open to other ideas or other types of mechanisms that you think would be better. I just put this in the chat. It should go to all the places, I think at least it'll go to YouTube. So if you can't find it, ping me on Discord and I'll help you with the link. But yeah, we're super open to feedback. So if you have other ideas and you think that there's better ways to do this, please definitely let us know. Cool. That's so far, those are the questions we've got. So yeah, I'll jump back just quickly into Lilypad. So the real differentiator and the real thing that we're excited about with Lilypad, apart from the obvious, module or GPU marketplace, is the job-based model that we use for executing, compute on the Lilypad network. You only pay for what you use, and the execution is in a serverless manner. And so really, we're all about making it super easy for developers to outsource their backend to Lilypad and, build front ends on top, use our CLI to interact with the network directly. We will relaunch our API soon to, be able to send calls, post requests to the Lilypad network. And then, of course, we make it really easy to load programs, whether it's an AI model or some other program, into a Docker image to then run on the network. So we make it super easy to onboard your code, and then we make it super easy to run the code with the CLI, API, and smart contracts you can also use. And so we're really focused on the customer here. We're really focused on building up tons of GPU supply, and then having many ways for the customers to interact with that GPU supply and provide value, like any other cloud company. We understand that that's the business we're in, and so we need to make sure that we can compete by making it easy. So now I would like to quickly talk about our incentivized testnet as the questions have both come in, regarding that. We're very, very excited. We're about over a month, but almost 2 months actually into our incentivized testnet, maybe a month and a half. And it's been amazing. I think we're up to about 220 GPUs on the network. Everyone's earning points. We've got a proof of work mechanism implemented where throughout the day, resource providers are asked to run a proof of work and then send the results back to us, and that's how we calculate rewards for the day. And if you actually hit, there's 6 4-hour windows, and if you hit 4 of them, then there's 4 6-hour windows, and so if you hit all 4 windows with the proof of work, then you'll get a 4x multiplier on your rewards per day. And so if you hit 3 of them, you get a 3x reward, 2 of them 2x. And so again, we're very focused on incentivizing long-term partners who are able to commit capacity. It doesn't have to be 24/7, but have a lot of uptime, and we really are rewarding that. And as you can see, this beautiful map here of the node distribution across the world, we are growing very quickly. And so jump on. The rewards you get the most amount of rewards now, and so definitely now is the time. If you're interested to learn more, check out that blog about our incentive net. There's also troubleshooting information in the docs, the rewards information in the Lilypad docs. And there's a lot of information, but feel free to ping us if you have any questions. Oh, and I forgot my own slide. So we have some awesome resources. The first one in the top left there is the Lilypad leaderboard. So this is where it's kind of a one-stop shop for all of our resource providers to understand where are my rewards, where can I see what I've earned, where can I sort of check on my node status, and then, of course, how do I stack up against other resource providers on the network? And so we're super excited to have finally got the leaderboard launched last week. And we are dealing with a couple small bugs. We have taken out the offline online status as part of that leaderboard. We believe it was giving some misguiding information. And so you may, for existing resource providers, you may have noticed that that's gone. So just disregard that. And then, of course, our documentation. We've got some awesome how to run a node, how to do all the configuration, all of the restarting, any kind of troubleshooting. All that's in our docs. And then we've got these 2 blog posts again on our Lilypad blog that walk you through the math behind the Lilybit rewards and all of the details around slashing and around the rules and around the sort of planning. And so definitely check all of that out. I've mentioned this, but we have a really awesome brand new troubleshooting FAQ. So in our documentation, we've been really fortunate to have a super engaged community. We cannot thank you all enough. And so we've sort of compiled a lot of the common questions that we've heard into this FAQ. So again, it's the troubleshooting section in the docs, and this has been sort of a one-stop shop to check out. You're welcome to ask us questions in the Discord in the I Need Help section, as you see on the right. But before you do, check this out. There's a bunch of resources. There's also a debugging sort of step-by-step. A lot of the times we're seeing that as we are in testnet, we are releasing versions of Lilypad, new versions of Lilypad relatively quickly. And we've sort of set the expectation for the community that this is common and that, we're in testnet. And so we are going to be pushing changes and updates as, pretty often. And so resource providers do need to keep their nodes updated in order to run the proof of work correctly. And so that's one of the first questions that we ask is when there's a problem, if maybe the proof of work isn't running on your node or something, we ask, hey, are you running the right Lilypad version? And about half the time that ends up solving the problem. And then, there's further debugging steps like checking out your wallet ID on Arbiscan to make sure that you're running transactions, tons of other stuff. So do check that out. We put some time into that, and also give us feedback. If you think that there's confusing information or it's missing something, like we're open. And then, of course, the Discord I Need Help has become our main kind of support forum where everyone can come and ask questions, and our team is there to help. And so please just follow the ticket sort of template that we've got. It's pinned to the top of the I Need Help section. It's also here in the troubleshooting docs. It just makes it much easier for our team to respond when we have some information about your node, we have some information about your version, your wallet ID, a bunch of other stuff. So do make it easy for us so that we can get back to you quickly with a solution. Yeah, we're also super excited we just launched, so we have sort of multiple community programs here. We're running a Galaxy campaign, which is now in tier 2. And so we're super excited to get more, community engagement through that. Tier 1 has been super successful. I think there's been hundreds of participants in the Tier 1 Galaxy campaign. So we got a lot of, I believe it's Lilybit Rangers is the tag that you get in Discord. And so we're super excited for all of our new Rangers, and are excited to see more show up through this new campaign. So that's super exciting.
Do we know where the name Ranger came from?
That's a great question.
Who came up with that?
We're gonna have to ask the team. I don't know. That's a good.
Figure that out.
That's probably the toughest question of the day so far.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we launched yesterday was the Lilybit Ambassadors Program. So we've noticed quite a few individuals in our Discord have kind of gone out of their way to either help others or have been constantly asking questions and debugging with us, very patient. And at the end of the day, just like great community members. And so we wanted to recognize that contribution with some kind of process that in the long run helps us take data on who's participating and who's contributing so that we can reward them. And so right now, again, we've launched a Lilybit Ambassadors Program or Lilypad Ambassadors Program with 5 individuals. And you can check it out in our general Discord. We made the big announcement. And yeah, they'll be eligible for rewards in the future. Keep an eye on that one. And then, of course, direct communication with the team, potential opportunities to get involved, and much more, involved stuff with the team. So anyway, super excited, super thankful for our ambassadors. And the intention is to grow that program. So right now, again, there's 5 people. There's no limit to that. We want as many ambassadors as possible to help jump into the Discord, help, contribute code on GitHub. We've been finalizing our open source contribution guide. And so we should be launching that information pretty soon. I believe we already have some, open source contributors on our GitHub. So please come open a PR. We love it. We do have a process, and so we'll help you make sure that process gets followed, because we haven't fully released those guidelines yet. Join the Galaxy, jump in our Discord. We really want to make it, this is really a community movement, right? We're building an open decentralized compute network to run AI models, right? And the idea is that it's a community-run open source initiative that can give competition to the large closed source kind of behemoths of AI. And so, build in public, have it be as community-run as possible. Like, that's our intention. And so we're starting in with that very early, as we are still in testnet, but we will, we aim to grow that. It looks like we have a question here. Any details about tokenomics and TGE? Yeah, so I will link you to our docs here. We have an FAQ. The tokenomics are being worked on as we speak. Our research team is actually in the middle of writing our white paper. And so that's really exciting. That should be coming out. I think the intention is this quarter, potentially early Q4, but my understanding is that this quarter. So here, let me link you the FAQ. And then the anticipated TGE would be also Q4 of this year, 2024, by end of year. And so that's sort of our rough timeline. I know that's probably not the exact answer you wanted, but yeah, it's all in the works. So yeah, I just put the link here. You can read more in the FAQs, but yeah, all in the works. What we do have out right now is that Lilybit's rewards information. That's probably the closest thing to like tokenomics we have at the moment, is like, how does the point system work? But anyway, that definitely more information is coming out on that. We are really excited to work with the Crypto Econ Lab out of Protocol Labs. They're experts in tokenomics, building decentralized networks, game theory, implementing like real world mechanisms with these like theoretical concepts, right? You have these theoretical concepts of how a decentralized network should work, how the economy should work, how you prevent civil attacks, how you make sure it's equitable, right? All these things. And so our team is really, really seasoned at creating the theory for this. And then we have the Crypto Econ Lab kind of bringing in some more of that like real world experience as they've done this many times. So super, super excited for that. Real quick, just getting through I think I already mentioned this already, but the sort of the incentive net timeline, we're focused right now on GPU onboarding. So our incentive mechanism and everything we're doing for the incentive net is focused on, okay, let's get as much GPU supply on the network as possible, as quickly as possible. And then we'll move forward with the next stages of the incentive net. Let's see, I got a question here. How many GPUs will your platform support? Are you going to match the number of suppliers with the number of clients which are going to use your platform? Great question. So I think the short answer is we'll support as many GPUs as possible, right? We're targeting, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of GPUs over the long run. So yeah, it's really, there isn't like a set number to how many we're planning on supporting. The way that the Lilypad economy works is when a user comes to the network and says, hey, I want to run stable diffusion, like I want to run this one job on the Lilypad network. That job gets submitted to the network with the CLI, and then our matching mechanism, our sort of like matching engine, matches that job with requirements with the compute that can service that based on how much VRAM a card has. And so to answer your question a little bit, like the demand automatically gets matched with the supply as it comes in. What we are experimenting with and talking to partners about now is some larger enterprises have come in and said, hey, like we want to be able to, and we're going to talk about this later with Logan, but like, hey, we want to be able to target specific nodes that we have to run specific jobs. And they've also said, hey, like we want more privacy enhancing mechanisms to protect the integrity of our data. Or they'll say, even asking about potential like private networks that maybe settle onto this main net. There's been a bunch of discussions about, kind of on the lines of your question is like, when you have tons of clients, how does that work with the supply? And it really is on a case-by-case basis. So, developers that are just building an app that's running open source models, they may not need all these fancy mechanisms. They might just be able to say, hey, like I'm just going to send jobs to the Lilypad network and, move on with my day. And then there's like large enterprises, again, that we're talking to that would want much more fancy configurations and a lot more that we're still building. And so, yeah, it's kind of an ebbing and flowing process. We're also working with Rare Compute Project and a group of medical researchers in California who are researching basically like using LLMs to fold proteins and to basically do research on rare diseases and medical research. And so for that use case, what they've done, the Rare Compute has set up their own Lilypad nodes and are running them on the network. And then their intention is to run GPU jobs on those GPUs. And so in that scenario, we were using the node targeting that Logan's working on to sort of make that happen. Hopefully that answers your question. Anyway, the next step of the incentive net, which our target is next month, or I guess tomorrow's August, so I guess this upcoming month, it'll probably push back a little bit, is plugins and integrations. So the intention here is to build up a massive supply and at the same time onboard demand to actually use that supply, right? And so we're talking to a lot of partners, big and small, about where can we plug in our compute and act as your backend? Where can we integrate your solution to enhance the Lilypad network? So, for example, we're talking to a bunch of IPFS and Filecoin hosting / caching providers, and these providers we're gonna basically offer their service as part of the Lilypad service, where if you have an AI model, you can save it using content addressing on IPFS. Whether it's just on IPFS or also backed up to Filecoin is up to you. But we're going to provide that capability with some partners to be able to like actually have content address verifiable AI models running on verifiable compute, with the output to that compute also being saved on IPFS in a verifiable way. So we believe this is a very important part of our, of how we see things and how we see the Lilypad network evolving is, providing functionality that most platforms just don't offer. Providing that content addressing, providing that verifiability is not common. And so anyway, super important to us. The next step is module onboarding. So we'll then be incentivizing people to actually add new modules to the Lilypad network. Anyone can add a model or a module, as they're called today. It's not too difficult. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about using Docker and about how that all works. But it's all in our docs, pretty straightforward. So yeah, you just configure your code to run in that Docker image, and then you can just run it on the Lilypad network. And so by around September, we're going to actually start giving out rewards for people who create modules and run them on Lilypad. And so keep an eye out for that. That's extremely exciting. I mean, that's really a blue ocean, right? I mean, our intention is, or the way the Lilypad's built is it's model agnostic, right? Like we're not locked into any one model. This stuff changes all the time. You get a new model all the time, right? And so I believe actually the new Llama 3.1 is being added to the Lilypad network as we speak. I believe maybe the big one, the 405B, maybe the smaller one, or one of the smaller ones. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, so that's something that anyone can do, and it's an ongoing thing. Super excited. And then the last piece is, APIs, SDK apps. We will have a very full, thorough SDK, in the future, targeting, I guess, around October. Right now, it's kind of just like some scattered tools that work great, though, so go use them. And then our intention is to actually build a SaaS platform on top of the Lilypad network. And so, right now you interact with Lilypad with the CLI, with our smart contracts, with our API, but we want to make it easy for really anyone to use the network with like a super easy SaaS platform. Easily onboard a module, easily run the module, easily use all of that on the back end of some system. So the SaaS platform will be super important for that, and we expect other people to build stuff like that too. Like, we're super excited. We're already seeing some platforms get built on top, so that's awesome. And so that's kind of a very interesting part of this that we're extremely excited about. But we're first focused on, all right, let's get the GPUs onboarded. Let's get a bunch of integrations. Let's get a bunch of modules going. Let's get the whole economy moving, and then we'll spend time building out some of the more fancy stuff. Got a question here. Any plans to remove the 10% penalty for node inactivity? Yeah, great question. So this was asked earlier too. So I'm going to link this GitHub discussion. So the short answer to your question is it's being discussed internally, and we're in testnet. And so we're testing, and we're kind of seeing, does this work well? The real intention is to incentivize long-term partners who are committed. And so, uptime requirements per day is only 4 hours. And so, we're not expecting everybody to be up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Although if you are up for 24 hours a day, you'll earn that 4x rewards multiplier. So there is a huge incentive to stay up as much as possible. But yeah, the intention really here is to, because of that multiplier, the multiplier for rewards, basically the number of rewards that we're giving right now is, as a percentage of the total over this entire timeline, is a lot more than what will be given in later stages. And so we're really heavily incentivizing the GPU providers right now to stay on the network and to contribute long term. You're earning a lot more rewards than others will be earning in the future. And so we believe that, with only 4 hours uptime a day, and that being said, we feel it's a pretty fair mechanism. That being said, though, it is up for discussion, and we could implement changes as time goes on. And so I'm going to put this in the chat here. We have this GitHub discussion where we're encouraging everyone with an opinion to jump in and tell us, what do you think about the slashing mechanism? Do you have better ideas? Considering what I just said, right? Commitment to the network long term. Is there a better mechanism we can implement that maybe is more equitable? And or less penalizing for someone who even is committed long term. There's a lot of discussions internally about that, so please contribute. We love that. So I kind of already went through this, but what's next for Lilypad? We're in our incentivized testnet right now. We're focused on supply onboarding, and then the next stage is plugins, integrations, APIs, modules, all that stuff I mentioned, and then we're targeting for mainnet launch with the TGE Q4 of this year. So let's see, I got a question. Is your project a startup backed by VC funds? Yes, we raised VC funds in April of this year. And so we do have VC funding for building out the network, indeed. All right, so call to action here. Everybody get involved. The Discord's popping. We're updating the website with, like the roadmap and everything is up to date. Our Twitter is going. Check out our blogs. We write a lot of blogs, but we write a biweekly project report that sort of breaks down what's going on at the company and what's going on the network. It's actually coming out. The new one should be coming out today or tomorrow. So that's incredibly useful to understand just from a high level what's going on with research, engineering, community, DevRel, all that kind of stuff. We keep the docs very, very up to date. So check that out. Definitely let us know if you have any questions, and scan this QR code. I believe this takes you to our link tree where you can kind of get all this information, and so you don't have to type it manually. All right. Well, I will stop talking now because I've been monopolizing all the time, and just see if anybody has any other questions. And then if not, we're going to jump in with Logan here, who's one of our core engineers and helping out on many, many different things. And we're going to talk to him about some of the stuff that he's been working on. Cool. Yeah. So I think we don't have any more questions at the moment. So yeah, Logan, I mentioned a couple things that I know that are in your realm. I guess the first one being sort of node targeting. You think that's probably a good place to start? Some providers, or there's some teams, I mean, even just for testing purposes, right? But there's other teams that want to run things in a more private or kind of more like specific way, where they have their own nodes and they run their jobs on their nodes. I know that's something that the team is actively, figuring out.
Right. So yeah, just some background. The Lilypad engineering team is split up into really two separate groups, one of them being core and then the other one being infrastructure. I have yet to quite figure out the difference between the two in a granular level, but for the most part, infrastructure means infrastructure and core means like the core code. The infrastructure is determined by the core code, so we are, it is a little confusing, I guess, in a way, at least to me, but so we have two different groups, core, infrastructure, and the targeting container feature is within the infrastructure realm or the infrastructure team. And so that's between my lead, James, and I. And he's the one who is working on the targeting containers feature. But basically, it's like very, very important to be able to have a large network made up of lots of different hardware, and to be able to specify, hey, I want this job to go to this specific person or this specific card for all that, for that matter. Very, very crucial for a decentralized compute network to utilize. Definitely it's an intense feature in my opinion. I haven't looked at too much of the new code or anything, but definitely very excited to see what happens and how it works. The feature, really a big thing too is really helpful for is people trying to set up their own clusters and work with their own clusters locally. And so Lilypad has lots of wide uses, decentralized compute network, hosting, like, setting up your own cluster in your own premise on your own LAN or premises. You can, perform like you were saying. Some of our team, Stanley, is doing some protein folding with Lilypad, and so setting up a personal cluster and being able to assign jobs in that personal cluster instead of sending all the jobs out to the wide area network. Super awesome and very, very incredibly useful. Useful.
Yeah. So building off of that, you mentioned sort of like multi GPU clusters. I know there's been a lot of questions in the community about, hey, like, as far as I understand, I can only run one GPU with one node, right? And so I know you're working on some solutions to that.
Right. Definitely good to talk about this for a little while. We do have a solution. If you do have multiple GPUs and the hardware that you are running these GPUs on is capable of we're dealing with a lot of hardware details here. And so what motherboards are we trying to connect to Lilypad? If there's multiple cards on this motherboard, is there enough PCI lanes going to each card to be able to support this setup? And so we should have a lot more docs on that very soon. But for the most part, if you do have the question, hey, I have multiple GPUs on my system, and the hardware checks out, how do I put these multiple GPUs onto Lilypad? We have come out with a document going through how to set up Proxmox and porting over each GPU to a Proxmox instance, and so there is a lot to go through in that process of setting up multiple GPUs in Proxmox. For one, it needs to be either on a nested virtualized server, so you need to be able to have access to the BIOS to be able to put Proxmox on. Like if you go to AWS in the cloud and you ask them, I want a server with GPUs, all of those servers, they don't really allow for Proxmox. And so you do need to pick a specific one that allows for nested virtualization. Very important. It is also easier. We do not recommend people to use Amazon or a cloud service provider to participate in this incentive net. The numbers don't really make sense just due to the fact that GPUs right now on in a data center are very expensive. And so we, like I said, we don't recommend it, but if you feel like doing it, you know, disclaimer, you know, this is all on you. But yeah, simple, like very, very simple process in theory. Okay, install Proxmox, get your VM set up, and then port over your GPUs to each one of the VMs. It's more of a Band-Aid solution. We are definitely looking at improving this in a lot of different ways. Not having to use Proxmox to orchestrate this is a big push for me. Being able to maybe get this all within Ubuntu and then setting up lightweight instances for each card within Ubuntu. Something I'm like really interested in, and if anybody has any know-how recommendations, any gotchas, I would love to chat about it, especially with community members. But
yeah,
very,
no, that's awesome.
Yeah, very excited to at least get the initial Proxmox out. I know a few people, probably less than the fingers on my hands, but a few people have got Proxmox and multiple GPUs operating. Some of them have gotten a lot more cards than others. And so for the most part, we have a guide, leaving it up to our resource providers to figure out the specific details and the nuances of their setup, just because everybody's setup is going to be vastly different.
Yeah, yeah. And typically, like with when you're doing that, my understanding is that you basically could have multiple cards on one motherboard, but you would have multiple miner IDs or wallet IDs. Like you'd have a wallet ID for each GPU. And so
Correct.
at least with this current mechanism, you wouldn't, be able to like add all those GPUs to one miner ID. You would have multiple miner IDs, I guess one per card. Is that right?
Correct. Right. Essentially, you're setting up multiple Lilypad miners within one motherboard or one MAC address, and then those cards are acting independently.
Okay, gotcha. And the intention in the future is to, as you were saying, is to do something that's not much less of a Band-Aid fix. But it's great that we have something, because I know that you guys, the engineering team, is incredibly swamped right now. So the fact that you guys had anything for this, like, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of providers who have multiple cards. It makes sense to facilitate that. Yeah. But also a lot of our community is just running GPUs locally on their home network. And to be honest, like that's, from what I understand, that is one of our main targets. Is we want thank you so much. We want an open network of a range of different cards. We want GPUs within a data center. We want GPUs within so to speak, an edge network in people's communities. And so that way we have fast transaction, and it's really a quite different and interesting orchestration. Very, very exciting to me. Yeah. Do you think that, there's one question that we've been discussing internally. I would love to know your take on this. We want to make sure that, actually this one ID per miner mechanism is actually good right now, even though it is a little bit of a Band-Aid. It's actually good for smaller miners because, of course, every week, or I think every 2 weeks, there's a fixed amount of Lilypad points that are able to be earned by the miners that are online at the time. Sorry, the nodes that are online at the time. So, if it's all based on hash rate, right? Like you run the proof of work that determines the amount of hash rate that you're contributing to the network, and then you get rewarded based on hash rate and uptime and a couple of mechanisms. And so my understanding is that because everyone has to only have one card per node, it really helps sort of the smaller miners, sort of the one card miners, to actually still be able to earn and not kind of get overwhelmed and washed out by like a couple big guys. So I think that's another interesting mechanism we'll have to sort of keep in mind, because we want the network to be equitable, I mean, we're all familiar with, sort of the way that the Bitcoin network has gone in terms of sort of large publicly traded miners.
Right.
I think every decentralized network has this question and this problem. And so,
we have a lot of conversations, I think, internally about how do we incentivize what type of behavior, what type of cards do we want, where do we want them? This is a lot of our tokenomics and incentivizing the right behavior for sure.
And making sure it's equitable, right? Like especially in the beginning, we want people, if you're running one card, we want you to be able to earn rewards and not sort of get overwhelmed by a couple big players. I mean, of course, we want big players. Of course, we want tons of cards on the network. But it's sort of a balance.
No, it definitely should be, we should have like a scaling factor. If you're bringing like tons of cards, then you're going to be like, we should deduct your earnings just for, we don't want to de-incentivize all of the edge nodes that we have at people's houses.
100%. Well, and that's part of our real value proposition, right? Is in the long run, we'll have more edge nodes than even a large cloud provider because we're using the power of the people, right? We're using crypto economic incentives to, there isn't a Cloudflare, point of presence in my building where I live, but if I'm running a Lilypad node or if someone in the building is running a Lilypad node, in the long run, it's just we basically are fighting the speed of light, right? We're solving, you're not solving the speed of light problem, but we're basically creating a mechanism to sort of improve upon solving that speed of light problem.
Definitely. I mean, think about whenever construction is going on 100 miles away from you, and then all of a sudden your internet gets cut out because of a crew or something. Having these resources distributed amongst our fabric of people is, in my opinion, mandatory almost. It's just a really good idea.
Yep, totally. Okay, so there's some more questions here. Is there a certain number of providers you're hoping to get onto the network during IncentiveNet? To answer that question, I would say, we don't have a cap. And so, I mean, in the long run, we're targeting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of nodes. So I mean, if next month we come back to this AMA, or I guess in 2 weeks, and we're at 10,000 GPUs, like we would be thrilled. So I would say we don't necessarily have like a specific internal target. Of course, you start where you start, and then you go for thousands, and go for tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands. So that's. Yeah. I think that should probably answer your question. Definitely let me know if you have any other specifics on that. And then another question, any news about the problem with proof of work, which stops to work after a few days? Yeah. So Logan, you might have more information than that than I do.
I would just say, like, there's a lot of ways we can complicate this, and there's a lot of ways we can over explain what's going on. Essentially, like, we have noticed some WebSocket issues going on with the logging and with our telemetry, which seems to affect nodes running proof of work for sure. What I would, as a resource provider running my node, what I would recommend is every 24 hours to 48 hours, you do a restart, complete reboot. So like, if you want to, I don't turn off my Lilypad commands. I don't say systemctl stop Lilypad resource provider. I don't say stop backlayout. I will just turn my node completely off, turn my node completely on, update it real quick, and then everything is moving well. And so that needs to be done every 24 to 48 hours. And I would, if you're like really into getting your reward multiplied, if you're really into like being perfect, I would recommend to do that every 24 hours. Sorry that it is so often. We're trying to lessen that frequency, but unfortunately, it's just kind of like, since we're updating so quick and we're finding so many fires and putting them out, it's just what we're recommending for now. So thank you. Yeah. Sorry, Doran.
Yeah, no, we do appreciate the patience. And I just put a link to the Discord channel we're using as it's called Updates RP. So if you just keep a track of that channel, whenever there's a new version released of Lilypad, there's a notification there. Whenever there's a new points update, or, well, there's no points updates actually, but like, for example, we announced the leaderboard. That's one of the most recent updates you'll see in there. that's like the one-stop shop for resource providers to know what's going on. And yeah, as Logan said, we really appreciate the patience and keeping your nodes updated and keep restarting and stuff. Like we're definitely working on that.
Yeah, some things on that same topic, some things that I'm very excited about. If anybody has any recommendations, we are looking at some tooling to automatically update the Lilypad core code. So having back layout, I don't know if there's a need to update that every day, every 24 hours, or every given frequency, but having something to automatically update the Lilypad code within our resource providers is very, very important. We want to do it safely. Yeah, that's all.
Didn't we have a script ready, Logan? Or
yeah, we do have a script. I can, if you want, I can dig it up. It's
yeah, I think I have it here.
Yeah, it's just the Lilypad tools repo.
Tools repo, right? Yeah, cool. I got it. So I will share this Lilypad update script. So I know this is a little bit of a work in progress, but this is GM. Yes, good evening, artificial period. I guess it is evening for the Australians. We appreciate the global participation. Anyway, I just put this link here for this update script. We will be adding it to the docs once we get it a little bit more polished. But I guess, Logan, would you say this is the sort of the easiest way to just uninstall and reinstall Lilypad for an RP?
Yes. Yeah. Like another disclaimer, any type of scripted operation that you're running on your devices, just be aware of what you're running. If your device is much different than a vanilla standard version of Ubuntu, look at the script, see what the script is doing. If you need to make a change to the script, do so. If your computer is different and the script is trying to put something somewhere and your computer is different, you might have some problems. And so, yes, just be very careful when scripting operations. But for the most part, this works on our plethora of vanilla standard Ubuntu Lilypad resource providers. We've tested it probably on maybe 6 or 7 different nodes, and so we're pretty confident that it's doing what it's supposed to. So yeah.
Okay, and again, that's I know it's in the docs, but that's Linux v22.0. Is that right?
04. Yeah.
04. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that mostly covers what we were trying to cover today. If there's any other last minute questions,
let's see. What else do I have? I might have some more on the engineering updates. We do like we were talking about. We do have our contribution guide and for our open source community. We have that coming out. You can do a PR. We pushed a community member's PR yesterday successfully. I think that was our first one into the Lilypad repo. So thank you, whoever you are. You did an awesome job. Thank you for bearing with us. But Brian was mostly, one of our engineers, Brian, was mostly leading that. I was able to tag along and watch. Super awesome. And then what else do we have? I'm working on an allow list. And so I've been working on this for quite a while. It's essentially a way to have a set of modules within our Lilypad infrastructure. And then our resource providers can say, I want my node to abide by the allow list. And so, so in that respect, our resource providers are not running modules that are not approved by our network. Just so our resource providers can maintain that their GPUs are not running unsafe, models, et cetera. So super awesome, super important, super intricate. It's probably about 400 lines of code. So very excited to get that out.
And just to build on that, right now that allow list is sort of been created by the community and by us. Our intention is to make that a very public thing. And so I believe we're even going to have some kind of voting mechanism in the future to decide, because we want the network to be as open as possible. But to Logan's point, we don't want malicious actors to be running stuff on our nodes that shouldn't be running.
Right, and even specific individuals who are on the networks. If you're an individual where you don't mind and you're all open and you don't care about banned models, then feel free to run a resource provider without the enable allow list flag, and you will you'll be good to go. You'll be running whatever comes your way. But for people who are, say, operating on like a premises or something where they are abiding by terms of service, and they, it makes sense for them to, okay, make sure everything running on this is safe. So
yeah. So we got another question. During the testnet, do we have your approval to use PCs for light work? When do you estimate that we will start receiving work jobs on our machines? So I think, is that question like, can I use my PC to do other things while the node is running? I think maybe that's your question, Doran.
you
I
have,
believe.
yeah, definitely. If you're hosting this, especially on Linux, I mean, you can be playing video games for the most part when the proof of work is running for, even it doesn't necessarily matter. It's the problem that I have as a resource provider is that when you set an Ubuntu 22.04 running Lilypad, it's not like you can just start up, your favorite. It's not like I can just start up Star Citizen or Rocket League or something on my Ubuntu Linux box. I have some friends who are good enough to be able to get Wine to be able to emulate, the game on Ubuntu, but I just don't have that much time. And so the cool thing, Doran, if you do want, like, set up a dual boot to where you can boot into Windows if you want to like play some games and then boot back into your Lilypad node. That's what I do personally. Works great. And, we're within the reward window, as long as you're not playing video games like for like 12 to 24 hours, you're good. And so, use your computer for whatever you want, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And then the other question was, when do you estimate that we will start receiving working jobs on our machines? Yeah. So great question. So the number one priority for engineering was to fix the proof of work mechanism, which was mostly fixed and launched last week, but then there's some bugs we're ironing out right now. And then the second sort of after that was like, okay, let's make sure that the jobs are working properly, as we're noticing that a lot of jobs are failing as they get sent to the network. So yeah, so to answer your question, the estimation on time, I mean, it's being worked on right now. We would hope that it would be sort of sorted the next couple of days. That being said, unforeseen circumstances sometimes get in the way of that, right? So definitely within the next week or so, we would anticipate, maybe 2 weeks. I just to be safe, I'm going to say that, but we're expecting it to be less than that, to be able to make sure that we get, working jobs again running through. So yeah, but we'll keep everyone updated. Definitely check Updates RP channel. We'll make sure that that's like the first thing everyone's told the second that that's back going. But it also doesn't affect, how you do things, right? So as a resource provider, you just carry on, and, you'll start getting jobs at some point, and it'll be great.
Yeah. When jobs start flowing, you will notice if you have your resource provider node sitting in your room, you might feel some heat coming out of it. So you will know.
Yeah. It'll get a bit hot.
Oh yeah. Great question though. Amazing questions, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, I think, we covered mostly what we want to talk about. Thank you so much for the community questions. Like, we are here because of you guys. We're here for you guys. So never hesitate to jump in our Discord, ask questions, put something in, I need help, submit a PR. We're moving as fast as possible to make sure that we do this right. You know what I mean? So we're trying to move fast, but we're also making sure that like this gets done in the right way. And so, like, for example, with our open source contributor guide, that's a work in progress. It should be coming out soon. But again, like, we're making sure that that's done in a way that's like long-term sustainable. Doran, I see him as your Standor 36 doing his job. Yeah, totally. No, the ambassador program has been awesome. We can't believe how enthusiastic our current group of ambassadors are. But it looks to me like you're a candidate to be an ambassador too, Doran. So, to keep it up, and I guess we don't necessarily have a timeline for when we'll announce the next group, but it won't be too long. And so, anyway,
big thanks to everyone in our Discord who has been helping out. I mean, it's just been incredible to have people helping me out, telling me like, oh, this is what I think it is. It's just a huge help to all of us, and we much appreciate it. Like, you guys are the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, the next AMA will be hosted next Wednesday. We host an AMA every Wednesday, alternating times. So next week will be for the Australians. It will be, I believe it's like 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so I believe that's, I'm not exactly sure the time change, but it's during the day, let's just say, for if you're in Australia, if you're in Asia. So we try to make it, so that you don't have to stay up all night just to attend. And then Logan and I will be back not next week, the week after, to do the next AMA at 11 a.m., 12 p.m., I guess, Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Alex.
See ya.
Ciao, ciao.